Recording in progress. So Amanda, welcome. Thank you for joining me on this chat. Of course, you already know I'm a fan of your work, and I will introduce you into the space in a little bit. But before we do that, I just want to express the reason why we're gathered here today. It's partially because we have a sister soul circle on the 21st and 20th if you're in the States of August, and so that would be on Friday or Saturday night, so coming up in a few days. And also we want to express a little bit about what the project is for clarity, and because this project is a passion project that needs to be life, and so we're on the journey of that. So I just want to acknowledge, of course, that I'm on Bundjalung land here, and Amanda, I think you're on Boonwurrung land.
I think so. I'm not quite sure, actually. I need to probably look into that. Thank you for that.
Yes. And so just as a part of the Sacred Feminine Rising, for me, it's really important to acknowledge the land grid that we're on whenever we work. And so I pay my respects to the Bundjalung Nation and the peoples and their elders past, present and future or emerging. And I recognize that sovereignty was never ceded. And it's my absolute pleasure to be able to channel the earth spirit and to be that as a white woman of Anglo-Celtic origin in Australia. And so I get emotional. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my feels because we want to really stay in the intuitive space. And so I guess I actually do want to express gratitude. I'll express this as many times as I feel I want to, because I think it's important to express gratitude in life, but I want to express my gratitude at Amanda and her incredible support for me across this period of time. Because as we know, the rebirthing of the sacred feminine often is an extremely painful process.
I think so.
And none of us get out without some scarring. So, which is beautiful, because that's why we have beautiful healers like yourself and me to be able to hold containers like this so that we can feel a sense of reprise from being alone in it. And so with that, I just want to also express a little bit about Amanda. I've known her for quite some time. I do consider her a friend. She's a very present person and someone whose frankness I actually admire and appreciate, because I get to be frank in return. And we share that. I also want to, she's also a kinesiologist of some regard in the Melbourne community, based in, you're in Caulfield now, as well as Frankston South.
Camberwell. I work one day out of Camberwell. Yeah.
And you're also online now, obviously by necessity, because
online, and a few other new tools in my hat to accommodate our changing earth.
Would you like to explain a little bit about that? I invite you to do that, please.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for the opportunity, Dana. It was lovely to be here. So I've been a kinesiologist for 20 years. I call that my shop front. But underneath that, I've studied lots of other modalities, medical intuitive. Obviously, in these times, I'm online more, and due to that, I've sort of upskilled in some other areas. So I do a beautiful sacred ancestral clearing technique that Dana's experienced. It's a 2-hour shamanic process. And I've just upskilled in delete reset, which works on a similar basis with addictions and habits. So that's another toolbox that I do online now because of our changing times. I'm also trying to change my way of working too. And I'm just about to launch a new product that we can talk about that another time, but that's all on frequencies and sending distant healing through frequencies.
Whoa, frequencies, you're speaking my language.
Yes, that's exciting. That's just happened this week.
I feel excited for you. What I want to, we're going to talk about the DNA ancestral healing in a little bit, but I just wanted to also just ask you quickly about the delete reset. Can you maybe give us a little bit more info? Because as you say that, I actually feel a little bit of curiosity around that. So
yeah, beautiful. So it's through a woman in Melbourne called Emma Romano, and she's a hypnotherapist, and I learned her process a few months back, and it works on a habit or an addiction. So people would show up and For an example, I've done it on being a workaholic with someone, drinking wine socially, procrastination as a habit. So all sorts of things. And we look at what the core reason is under that habit and what's created that. And of course, it usually comes from a childhood pattern or experience that's happened, but we're unlocking that. And then we work on a hypnotherapy level on changing the emotional components of like anger and sadness and shame and embarrassment underneath that core belief. Yep. And then we do a whole hypnosis process on rewiring the brain. And then we do a delete process of deleting. We ask a whole heap of questions while you're in an unconscious state. So it's about a 2.5 hour process. And there's 30 days of homework after it, similar to the sacral ancestral process, where we're reprogramming the part of the brain to prove to yourself that this new way of being is now who you really are. And so that's also about changing the DNA and the habits and the brain.
Cool. Well, I love the fact that you did talk about how the delete reset is like a resetting of the childhood programs and the things that have accumulated. And I kind of want to, where I want to go with this is that, and I will express, I have had a DNA ancestral healing session with you, and it was a significant life shift for me. And I've been in this business for ages. So I have had a lot of experiences with a lot of different people, and it actually blew me away in efficacy. But what my question is the delete reset, if that's about the childhood stuff, how
well,
is the DNA
it kind of is not advertised as that.
Obviously, yeah, obviously. But I'm kind of looking at, like, because the two are like compatible but also distinctly different. So I kind of want to maybe go to the DNA ancestral healing and ask you, what's the difference between the two from the perspective of the ancestral healing, and why is it important?
Yeah, so I guess the ancestral one, the first part of the process is we do a massive clearing of your ancestors. So we're looking at the bloodline, the upline, the sidelines, the downlines. And so it gives you an opportunity to not only clear your own dysfunctional frequencies, I guess, or belief systems, but anything that you may have inherited as a miasm down the bloodline. And sometimes they skip the bloodline, and then, you know, it's in the child, or you, other brothers and sisters might not have a similar belief or thing going on. So the first part is this massive clearing of this ancestral, and we look at curses and hooks and, you know, all sorts of stuff that we clear, which you experienced. And then the second part is actually reprogramming your conception, your DNA at conception, and your DNA at within your higher self. And we ask on a very unconscious level lots of questions. So, you know, the beauty of this is you're empowered to find your own answers ultimately. You know, that are sitting and bubbling there that you may know of, but you may not completely believe. And so it's confirmation in a way, oh, this is true about me, or this is what I do know, or this is what's coming, in a more positive, functional level than a dysfunctional.
Positive and functional, we like that. That's always helpful. And I'm reminded that, you know, a lot of that, finding the sacred voice, the stuff that we do through the Sacred Sister Soul Circles, I can see where there's an alignment. We were talking a little bit about this earlier, about how there are so many practitioners who are working in the intuitive space. And the intuitive space, of course, is extremely broad. You know, you talked about you being a medical intuitive, and that even that in that whole caseload of medical intuitive is extremely broad, because some of us are really great with neurology, and some of us are really great with biochemistry, and some of us are just really great with those wound healing traumas. And so I kind of, again, just because, you know, we had the discussion before about what sisterhood is and how that all relates to the bigger picture, I feel like it's really important just to acknowledge that the work of sisterhood is it's not just about women so much as it's just about expressing this truth that the intuitive knowledge and wisdom is extremely valuable, and it deserves a greater voice in community. And so this video that we're doing in a fashion is a part of that, you know, and we'll continue to do this. Spirit has asked me to do a YouTube channel specifically on conversations with women, to get more of this technology forwards, and an appreciation for the true value of this. I've done a lot of work on myself across my own healing journey. I've had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, I've had autonomic nervous system dysfunction. I had a significant trauma to my cervical spine that left me without the ability to use my hands for a year. I've had these significant interferences, is the word that I now use, to my wellness and well-being. And what I found is that the medical profession provided some answers, but the true healing came when I dove into my spirituality and dove into the aspects of me that I call feminine, which is where feminine practitioners, like feminine, not female, sorry, let's just emphasize, feminine as intuitive, practitioners like kinesiologists, and even Chinese medicines and herbs. You know, for me, there's an intuitive aspect to that that actually relates to the biomechanics of the body, but there's a sensory feeling and perception where I know that with this person, they may have the same criteria, but subtly I feel a slight difference, that this will work better for this person rather than this thing.
Yeah, totally.
And the flip side of that is also the part of the healer's journey is also to be healed by the experience. So a lot of us actually have our own healing story, which is where I want to kind of step into the sister circle and why the sister circles are so important, because they're actually not about like going to different practitioners is great and finding their own magic is great. That's what the YouTube channel and stuff is about. But the sister circles are about you sitting your butt on a chair, as we said last time with Jean Church, sitting your butt on a chair and showing up for your purposes of healing and taking responsibility for that. And only you know what you need, and you need to listen to your inner voice, your feminine intuition, to be able to hear what she has to say about your own general wellness. And it never ever happens if you just rely on other people to fix you. Totally
agree with that.
So I know you've sat, sorry, just cut you off. I tend to do that, I go so fast.
It's okay. No, I was just saying I totally agree with that, because I think if you don't have a space to find your own aha moments and intuitive wisdom, sometimes that healing won't happen. Even though you've got some answers from practitioners and they've been holding spaces and they've shifted the frequency. Yeah.
And I notice with my own healing, the more I step into my own responsibility for my own healing, the more every practitioner I go to see, I get more out of their experience as well. So they show up with their magic and I'm available to receive that even more because I'm working on myself and I'm taking responsibility for that. And so the sessions that I do with practitioners, because I still see practitioners, I think that we're always on that journey.
Totally. I see a lot, and especially let's say the last 2 years, 18 months, I'm probably saying more, just to hold my own space to be able to work with others, because it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I know my ability to be of service actually improves when I show up to the stuff that's in my field. And I do want to talk, you know, I'm often a big fan of making sure people know that life is not just positive, it's not just supposed to be light and love, right? There's a shadow aspect that if we ignore the shadow gets worse, the anxiety gets worse, the fear of the unknown gets worse. And this is actually working contrary to the sacred feminine rising, because a lot of the mystical wisdom that comes through the intuitive voice is found in the void space. It's found in the quiet spaces. It's found where we don't have all the mental chatter. So a part of the work that we do, it's supposed to be confronting on some level. It's supposed to be uncomfortable on some level, because if we can't acknowledge that there's something wrong with me, I can't actually heal.
Yeah, and I've experienced that in your circle myself.
Would you like to share a little bit about your experience?
I just showed up, not showing, and I didn't know what was going to come through intuitively, and you know, it was amazing. It was like a big healing, and I had to become really vulnerable, didn't I? And it wasn't what I was expected, so that's kind of good. Always the best little aha moments and healings are ones we can't control. We just show up. Yeah, so I've experienced the Sacred Sister Soul Circle, which hopefully you'll talk a little bit more about for this Saturday. And what did we do last year? Psychic circles. What were they called?
Yeah, we did. I was dabbling a little bit with healing circles.
Yes.
Yeah, the healing circles I was calling them. Yeah.
And you did all sorts of different modalities, sort of, you know, every time we joined in, and that was all on Zoom. And that was really needed last year for me, just to be in a circle with women and talk and you know, see what was going on in my body.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because, you know, we were talking before, and I do want to make sure that this is out, because I think it's a really important thing to mention. When I was doing the healing circles, there were some men that actually came into that container. And I do work with guys and men, and I've even worked with transgenders and non-binary people. So I'm not specifically here to work just with women. And I absolutely know that that's the same that's true for you. I think what I want to express is maybe the reasons why I'm drawn to work in Sister Circle. It's partially because the sacred feminine rising is strongest through the voice of a woman because of the way we are wired. It's actually an innate sense that we have to be more intuitive simply because we have a womb. I know you laugh, because it impacts our hormonal balance, which is how energy flows through the body. And so there's actually a lot of benefit in the paying homage to the fact that we are women. And when we do that, there's a certain amount of us that drops into this state of acceptance that we all have a mother wound. All of us who work in circle, we're usually scared to be in circle because we've had some horror stories around being around groups of women. And this is particularly true with intuitive healers, because most of us have a witchcraft past life.
Totally.
And so that fear of abandonment, the fear of punishment, the fear of being weird, crazy, you know, people don't trust their intuition because they think it's them being crazy. And so the circles, in a fashion, is like a safe container or space. Circle by its nature. The way I choose to run my circles is to firstly honor the unique being that you are, however you choose to show up, because that's your voice, that's your sovereign right to show up as you are. Only you know where that strength is, and you have to take responsibility for who you are and how you show up. And it's really difficult to do that when you're isolated in a box and not doing a process with other people. And so the sister circles in themselves, it's just a container, because I often offer other things. I love doing past life regression, for example. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I also have one on Sunday, which is combined with some sound work, which I'm a bit nervous about because I haven't publicly done much work with sound yet. But this is my sacred voice and I have to honor that. And so the circles, what I give to me, I want other women to have that same opportunity. And I actually feel it's quite important that they do. If every woman stood up in their own unique voice, taking full responsibility for their shadow and their light aspects, and for their journey and the unique aspects of DNA and the ancestral baggage that we all inherit as we are born, because we all do. Like, it's bullshit to believe that you don't get that shit, because you do. That somehow,
especially if we're the healers of the family.
Yeah.
Lined up to do that.
Oh, it's tough. It's a tough dynamic, which is why we need your work, Amanda, in all of the spectrum that you offer.
And we need your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, we mentioned this before. One of my shadow aspects is I actually feel quite uncomfortable talking about myself, which is ironic because I share so much of myself quite openly in circles. I often laugh with my own spirit guides, because ever since I started to step into my role as a channel and healer, they will often flag with me a memory to articulate a story that I personally have that shows the person I'm reading for an example of the ideas that they're talking about, so that, because women actually do remember stories better than they do concepts often. Totally. And so spirit has been doing this for ages, and quite often I'll be in the seat of a reader and spirit will say something to me like, tell this person about this story that happened to you. And I used to cringe and I'd be like, I don't want to talk about myself. And they're like, you have to, because if you don't, no other woman will. And if they won't find their voice, and they won't be seen in community. They won't feel heard, and their magic will die with them, basically. And so they would say, you have to do it first. And I'd be like, no, I don't want to do it. But they would kind of activate that healer in me. And they would say, remember why you're here. You're here to help people, and this will help people. And that would somehow get over my insecurity at being seen by others. And so that's how my magic works. It's not how everybody's magic works, but it had to start with my conversation with spirit in the first place. And so I started with cards. And another thing that they're having me do now is I'm about to do an online course for card readers to learn how to read cards, because that's how I started. Yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but they're very insistent I do that during this lockdown.
Yeah, well, I think everyone needs to explore new skills and learn new things. So it could be perfect timing.
Skills development.
Yeah, like, aren't we all doing that? Well, the world's resetting. We've got to reset the way we work.
Or return back to the way that we actually do naturally, because that's where we were supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah, that's a whole big another topic, isn't it?
Yeah, and Spirit is reminding me, and maybe this is the topic for another day, but Spirit is reminding me that, and I guess I feel like they really want to push through this idea that there's so much confusion on the planet at the moment, and there's so much devastation and loss and chaos. The sacred feminine voice rises through grief processing. And so when we feel like we need support and guidance, which we should all be asking for support and guidance right now, and most of us are like, we're getting a little bit resistant to spending money, because obviously a lot of us are fearful that we're not going to earn money during this period of time. And it's actually a planetary collective energy at the moment. The economy is changing, and it's great because the economy has been focusing energy towards a particular way of working, i.e. 9 to 5, Monday to Friday in front of the computer screen, working for big business and big company. And the Earth Mother can't tolerate that level of pollution anymore to our cellular DNA or to the environment, So we are here to, like, this whole system at the moment, this whole cataclysmic experience is primarily to change things. And this is the time for us to step more into that intuitive voice and to trust that we are being taken care of across this period of time.
Totally.
Because when I can drop there, I don't know about you, but when I can drop there, I hear soothing thoughts and I feel connected. And I know that no matter what's coming, it's going to work out okay. And when I feel that, I work better. And I can do more for my relationships and my friends and myself.
Yeah, and I think right now people need to learn how to hold that in themselves with what's going on somehow, and maybe even learn how to even access that.
So how are they going to do that, Amanda?
Well, hopefully when they come to your circle, they'll learn some of those techniques. I mean, you more teach people in your circles those different ways to get in. Whereas, I guess with my work, I try to get them to either acknowledge what's sitting in their unconscious, or I get them back into their body and their left and right brain and their heart space, and try to get them embodied so that they can know what was real and what wasn't, or what was fear, what wasn't, what was a decision, what wasn't. Yeah.
Who doesn't need that every day?
Well, this is it. I think we need to up the ante of how to actually get back in the body and be intuitive and be grounded and be authentic, or at least travel towards finding that, which is probably part of the shadow journey.
As you say that, all I can see in my mind's eye is a ball of rose quartz. I'm going to just translate because I don't know yet why I just keep seeing this massive ball of rose quartz. I actually feel like the rose quartz ball is the sister circle. So we're going to translate what they're giving me in reference to what I'm noticing, because this is how we channel, right? This is how I channel. And
this is what Dana does.
This is what I do.
You're a psychic medium too, aren't you?
Yeah.
So people might not know that about you.
I don't know what people know about me, because they don't talk to me and tell me what they know about me. They just show up or don't. So rose quartz, Spirit's putting me back on track. So rose quartz ball, really big circle, filled with universal unconditional love. I feel like that's what they want you to say. That's what they want me to say. Sorry, it depends on how I'm translating. Yeah, you can learn about that if you want. You just have to contact me. I have a coaching program. I teach people how to translate spirit. But rose quartz, really big circle, specifically to hold you accountable to the love inside of you. And if all of us do that, then we will find that the planet will heal on its own exactly how it needs to.
Yeah, getting back to our own absolute love, which is tricky. You know, it's not an easy thing to do if you're disembodied, ungrounded, in fear.
Just watch the news.
Yeah. Well,
if that's the reality you want, just watch the news. That's fine. And now I'm seeing the color green. And so for me, green is heart chakra and the color of healing. So I think that we're going to wrap it up, but I feel like the spirit oneness is just saying that we are both here to be healers. And our strongest magic is in the healing space. And so if any of you like anything that we've shared or expressed and you're genuinely curious about learning to heal or receiving healing, then that's what we are. We're here to be a force of love on the planet and to show up to love for the purposes of healing. And Amanda has her own magic and the way that that flows through her. And she's figured that out over, what, a decade?
20 years. And it's evolving, it's changing again.
Because that's what intuition does. It's great. You have to be in the flow of the river of what is here and allow the energy to flow, to continue to flow, just be present with what is. So I also offer my own magic. And for me, I'm 8 years into that journey as a spiritual healer, but that builds on the back of a whole lot of biomechanical training that I have as a Pilates instructor and a dance instructor and a law and policy expert and a trainer of people, because I've been a teacher since I was 15. So
well, I think when I first met you, you were dancing.
Yeah.
Studio.
Yeah. I think I was still running my studio. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
I miss dancing. I can't dance now. We're in lockdown. So it's like I can dance on my own, but it's not the same without people, which is also another reason why we should gather in circle, because doing stuff together actually makes the energy better. So
you've got a circle this Saturday, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to jump in and explain a little bit more about what's happening in that, if people want to join in this Saturday.
Yeah. So it's Saturday in Australia, but it'll be Friday evening in the States and Canada. So we run this, Spirit has asked me to run this every month. It's a container specifically to provide wisdom and guidance and to support whoever attends in their own healing journey, wherever they are at. The cool thing about them is that they are channeled, which means that whoever it is that sits their bums in the seats receives something that's specifically for them. And I never know what shows up. As you said earlier, you didn't know what was going to happen when you jumped in.
I think I got quite a fright at the end. I'm like, oh my God, where did she take me? But anyway,
it's always fun.
So it's not comfortable, is it?
No, but it's also spirit says we go gentle with the newbies. You've been on this journey for a while. So I like, spirit always reminds me that we need to stretch, and so stretching is an important part of the healing experience. We can't heal without some level of stretch, which requires us to acknowledge some level of discomfort. And so for some people, they get stuck in the discomfort and they end up in these energy loops. The idea of the sister circle is that we want to stretch you a little bit so that you can confess what is there and actually fully own it. And then once it's there, we start the process of repairing it. And
it totally felt safe. Yeah, it was like, it was vulnerable, but it totally felt safe because the women were all there, and though I didn't know anyone, which was actually really nice to not know anyone and to be vulnerable.
Yeah, right. It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
one of those weird things. So
I think it's so needed right now, and I hope that you continue to do them. And and this containment of the sacred sisters evolve.
Well, it will or it won't, right? Won't it? Because that's the sacred feminine way. Just keep showing up. I just keep showing up, and it's important. Like it feels, it's beyond me now. It's something that it's returned to me so many times. I've tried to shake it off because of my own fear of being in groups of women. Because as I said, we all have that. I still have elements of the fear of my witchcraft past, right? But I've been working with that progressively, and when I'm in that seat, I'm supported by spirit so profoundly that there's no question in my mind. And with the project, there's no question in my mind that this is of service and that it's impactful in the way that it's intended. And so I'll show up to them while that feeling is there, and that's, I think, important for all of us to do.
So how long do the Sacred Sister Circles go for? Is it an hour and a half?
Yeah, it's 2 hours now.
2 hours.
Yeah. So the past life stuff does an hour and a half, but this is a 2-hour session. So we work with the rose frequency and cacao, and so we do provide you with some information to be able to make your own cacao for the circle now. And you know, Spirit is reminding me I'm really generous with links and giving people support to be able to build altars and to be able to provide themselves with a nice energetic environment, how to smudge, how to clear their space, and we work with you through what you need. So I am here to be of service. And so the circles themselves are respectful of your time commitment, but they're also there to support you in the way that you need in that moment. So
yeah, so if anyone needs support, jump in. I did.
Brilliant. So so we have information, of course, on the Sacred Sister Soul Circles Facebook group, and I needed to work on my website. That's what I've got to do this week to get the information up there. But I also, of course, have Dana Spirit Butterflies, the Facebook page, and we're now working more on the Sacred Rose Awakening, which is the book that I'm writing that inspired the Sister Circles in the first place, and is more about my own personal journey. And so you can also reach Amanda. Her website, I think, is www.amandaadey, so ADEY.com. Is it a AU? No, it's just .com.
No, just .com.
Just .com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, my new stuff isn't on there yet. I'm trying to find space to do it. So hopefully this lockdown.
That's what lockdowns are for. Hooray!
Yeah.
Introspecting and focusing.
Yeah, or you know, and what was your website? Have you told everyone, or you'll have the link?
Yeah, so www.danaspiritbutterfly, DANA as in banana, danaspiritbutterfly.com. And I have a book now button. So if you want to book about for the sister circles, click the book now button and click onto the classes, and there'll be the link there. If you have problems, contact me through Facebook or Messenger or whatever. My information's on my website as well. So
perfect. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you Saturday too.
Hooray! Yes, because Amanda's also our support space holder, so our sacred wisdom space holder. And
who knows where that might go? It's exciting.
That's the beautiful thing about the feminine energy. We don't need to know until we're there.
Beautiful.
And then it's just about surrendering. So
yeah, which is not always easy.
No, within your level of comfort. Like we said, spirit stretches you only so far. You know, we can always reclaim our space and opt out if we need. It's always an option to do that. So
totally. And I mean, I always say to clients, don't worry, you'll only go as far as you're ready. We're not going to have this massive upheaval unless you really need that. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Thank you for your time. Really grateful.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for the chat.
No problems. And thanks people
for
listening. Put yourself out there. It's actually terrifying to some extent, but it's also what we're here to do. So
I'm in Melbourne. You're in Byron now, aren't you, though?
Yeah, Byron Bay. Yeah.
Got this frequency of different states crossing
over.
It's
great. I love it. I actually feel like it builds a richness for the circles too, because we're all feeling so much isolation. There's a part of us that kind of also needs to remember that we're all human and we're all going through an experience. And that what I'm noticing, actually, interestingly enough, is when my Melbourne peaks are in lockdown and I'm not, I actually am in a better space to provide them with a little bit of support, and vice versa. So sometimes it's kind of weird. It's like I noticed that Sydney, for example, is in a 2-month lockdown, and it's like my peeps in there, I'm reaching out to them more because they clearly they may need a little bit more support, and I haven't been through it. Or rather, I should say, we did 4 months of Melbourne lockdown last year, which was way worse than anything I'm experiencing here. And so I do have an awareness that I have greater capacity to do work for people who may not be able to, who may be, let's be frank, going through PTSD cycles right now.
There's so much trauma, so much.
Yeah, a lot. And I'm noticing that there's a lot of women who are really struggling. Like when I talk to them, they need to talk to someone.
Oh yeah, me included. And you know, I hold space like you do, and sometimes you do feel like, who can I talk to? I'm just holding space. But ultimately, you know, I've taken this week off to hold space for me. So perfect timing, Sacred Sister Circle.
Yay. All right, we'll sign off now. Apparently my heart needs to say hi to everybody. This is a Celestine heart. For me, it's the Mary Magdalene frequency. So she's from Boulder, actually in Colorado. So she just wants to say hi because that's what I do. You guys know that's what I do. And that's what crystals do through me. So anyway, my Celestine
Perfect, love it.
heart wants to say hi because she's been in every sister soul circle I've ever run. So
oh, there you go.
yeah, she wants to say hi. Maybe you might want to say hi in return. Come to the circles.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so my lady will stop the video there, but thanks guys, and kisses to all of you out
thank you
in
for whoever's listening.
YouTube land. Yeah, all right.
This will reach who it needs to.
Yeah, hooray.
Thanks, Dana. Good to chat.
Yeah.